For this video, we're going to talk about how to use Word in order to make our things more accessible, but I also want to still show you how to use Ally. So let's take a quick look at what Ally is telling us is wrong with this particular Word document. So if you look here, we're going to find this, Chapter 8 Fitness, Notes, DocX, that's looking like a hot mess already. We'll open that up and see that Ally is telling us that that particular document, we'll click right here, does not have headings. So this is the great thing about Ally. It'll tell us exactly what it's looking for. And that's important because sometimes if you look back in Word, Word was telling us as far as go to review and check accessibility. So at check accessibility, we're going to get this. This is a really old file. So this says it's not in a format that's supported by Accessibility Checker. And you can go right here and save that as a form. But I find that that actually causes a little bit of some twitchy things you don't want to try. So I suggest cutting and pasting that and popping it into a new version. So this is a docx file. And we've got that information there. Let's now see what our accessibility checker tells us here. Well, accessibility checker tells us there's no problems. This is where I actually have to remind you. Remember, accessibility is a journey, not a destination. Word is telling us it's perfectly fine, but Ally isn't. Let's try to make both of those two places happy. So it's looking for headers. How do we add headers into this? Simply go to your homepage and we have styles. Those are your header styles. Now, the title, you obviously, if you look at that, go here and select title for that paper. This, which is right underneath it, we can all agree, would be a subtitle. And this, as far as the chapter, we're going to put that as heading number 1, which are in weird order in mine. So we see that. It looks great, has a lot of information. I happen to know this chapter just changed numbers, so I'm going to take a look at that and maybe even use our little Grammarly in order to make it a little bit more grammatically correct. So there, we've got it. Took just a few seconds, and we will share that. Save it as, you can save it as that same document if you want. And remember to always save it someplace where you know you're going to find it. I'm doing a lot of stuff going back and forth, so I'm going to save this right now into my PC, and I'm going to save it as downloads because I know I'm going to be able to find it there. So once we've done that, again, took just a few seconds, we're now going to go back to Ally and see how we did. Now this is really easy to do. Simply go find where that file is. I'm going to refresh it. So this is the most recent one, 321. Take that notes and drag and drop right here. And we have a perfect document. Yay. So again, it's really that easy to do. Now, there's some other issues, and I'll give you some little pro tips on that as far as we've managed to get this as a good accessibility score. But let's take a look at some of the other problems that we have with different files. So I'll go back to overview. That specifically said that it didn't have a header issue. So you figured out how to do that. Now we also do have documents that contain image of that description. We'll talk about that in a minute. Or this has tables that don't have any headers. So in this case, if you're using the syllabus that we've created, that updated one, you're not going to have a problem with this. But this is one of those little twitchy things that I have found actually kind of drives you crazy because, well, Ally will tell you how to find that solution. It really isn't intuitive. It's one of those things that does not make a lot of sense. So if you do get something like this, tables that are missing headers, you can click here and it will tell you what this means. It says it doesn't have proper headers. And it'll tell you how to set headers and it'll give you these instructions. So if you lose these instructions, realize they're right in here. But also, I recommend waiting a minute and letting Ally come down and tell you exactly which tables we have a problem with. So in this case, it is, not surprisingly, the week by week descriptions, also this particular description. And if we scroll down, there should be a third one hiding in here somewhere, this grading rubric. So those are the 3 things that need to have headers for those. And again, this isn't all that intuitive, so please follow along with me. If we go to that document, again, Once you come to that, you can click here and that will download it onto your computer. I've downloaded it already just to speed things up a little bit. And we have this file. Um, Again, we go to the accessibility checker and it will start showing this. This will also give us a few other things, which Ally was not telling us. Hard to read contrast, which is going to be an issue, and no heading in the document as well. So we're going to need to make sure, let's just check those while we're here and make sure we can fix those styles. So we're going to put this as a heading 1, and we'll add this oops, as heading 2. And that way we're going to solve that problem. Now you may notice that it kind of scoots it off and all of our things say that we want them in the middle. In truth, it's more accessible to have it off to the side so it's not in line, but we'll leave it there. So we can start looking at these different things. Now, our big thing was not having headers in the titles. And again, this is non-intuitive. So go to your thing, your table, go to table properties. So I've right-clicked and gone all the way down to table properties. And then select on here and go to row. You want to make sure you get up to the first row. So you see how the first row is selected. And then click on repeat as header row at top of each page. Select that box. And that's going to assign that header. The benefit of this is if it does switch to another page, it'll bring that header over. So for that, you're going to need to do that on each one of these. Again, right click, table properties, repeat as header. Okay. Scroll down to our last one. Now, I will tell you, sometimes it won't let you click on the top row for reasons passing understanding. Again, then just click on the second one and go to previous to go up. So we've now set headers. That is now telling someone who's actually having this read that it's going to actually do that. Check reading order. Our tables are going to be showing that there's some issues in here. It might recommend a different table style. If you use these, it's going to just make it a little bit easier for the students to read and understand. I like to select something in grayscale so that it's not too difficult to read. And you can do that with any of these. We'll recommend it. Again, each one is going to give you a different thing. I find it a little bit easier for the students when they can actually see that there is a difference. Okay, so this is now taken all those accessibility, but it did mention that there were some, even though it's not showing up right now, that there were some words that were in a difficult font to read, and that's this red. So again, we want to turn that into a dark red rather than a red, and that's going to get rid of your hard to read contrast. I'm guessing there's probably, yep, some more red in here somewhere. Now, I'm going to give you a little pro tip. I'm going to try to fix this so it is 100%. But if you make it 100%, that means that there will be no problems whatsoever, which is great. But if this is a document that you are switching out a lot, like a syllabus where you might make some last minute changes, sometimes it's good to have things be just a little bit less than perfect. So what I tend to do is right at the bottom of my syllabus, I add a little tiny asterisk and I set that as a bright red font. Now, I know that a student will still be able to read this, but what it will do is it will actually turn this document into being 99%. And that way, if I want to use the accessibility checker in order to change it, in order to increase it, I can do that in the future. So I'll show you how that happens. Now we've got that all fixed. We are going to go here with downloads. We want to make sure we have our most recently updated one. And we should now have this. We'll drag and drop it right in here and let it work its magic. No, it's now telling me we still have some issues. And again, we're going to try again. Let's see where it's actually bringing up our problem. And again, we fixed the three that it told us about, but sometimes Allied does this. It brings up some additional issues. And this is telling us we still have those same header issues. So let's go back in again and see what we can do to fix that all up. And I think the problem is we didn't save it properly. Table properties, repeat as header. I'm afraid I switched into two different documents and messed that up. So we'll go here, right click, table properties, repeat as header. Okay. When we reformatted them, again, this is an issue of the two different programs arguing with one another. One wanted one thing and one wanted another. So let's now save this. We'll close it out. And we're going to try one more time. It's not always the first thing that happens, but eventually you'll see it'll just take a few minutes. And your syllabus is going to be one of those places where we do have one of the bigger problems. Again, if you're using the syllabus template that is given to you by your boss, there we go. Now we've got it to 99%. Again, that remaining issue to resolve is that little asterisk that I told you to put in there. That way, if you need to swap out the syllabus later on in the term, you can swap it easily. But again, that shows you those primary things. And again, it's the headers that are very common and the headers of those tables that are also very common. I hope that this helps you with that, and hopefully you'll get some more insight into more unusual problems in the future. Thank you.